This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. We're here in the slightly dated suite in New Orleans. I'd say it's a nice view around us, but we've got a Holiday Inn there and sort of, yeah, I mean...
Interesting place, isn't it? You love it here.
I do.
This is so up your street. Like it's a mixture between Magaluf and New York, or not really? Like, yeah.
It's just like a very Americanised version. That's what they were saying last night. But after,
Did you enjoy your meaty Willy pizza last night?
so yeah, it was a very good pizza as far as pizzas go. But only New Orleans could have a pizza place called Cheesy Willy. I
was on the running machine, and you and Colm sent me a picture saying, have a good gym session with about 8 pizzas, pints, everything. How's your fitness going? You don't look too bad.
Really good. I'm still working out every day. I'll be honest, the diet's pretty non-existent at the minute. But in terms of working out every day, the runs in...
What about this new geezer, Louis Hart, or whatever his name is? How are you finding that? Did it put your nose out of joint when you were in...
Really happy for him.
Southern Spain Villa last week?
I mean, I was enjoying... Although the weather was pretty crap, so it was. This is the weather been following me bad, but constantly messaging me now to the point I was very happy for him, and I still am happy for him.
Are you one of those people that like to see people do well, or secretly? Because I have to be honest, and I put this in my book, Relentless. When I was younger, and I feel like when you get older, you look back on your childhood, and I think it explains a lot more about the person you were at the time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like things that you went through, or just your surroundings or whatever. And when I was younger, it's really, I feel a bit embarrassed saying it, to be honest with you, but I never really wanted to see people do that well in teams that I was in. So like when I played a lot of cricket, don't get me wrong, I didn't want someone to like get out, but if I got 60, I wouldn't want anyone else to get more than 60. Do you know what I mean? And that's actually a really bad attitude and trait. Whereas now, I actually genuinely love people, to see people do well or to be happy. Like if I see someone get a great job, or my mate's gone out, starting earning a fortune or whatever, I'm like absolutely over the moon. But when I was younger, probably a bit younger than you, but it was definitely a trait of mine that I was like, I was just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the top dog all the time. But even when I was in a team sport, I wanted the team to win, but I never wanted anyone to do better than me. It's a bit embarrassing saying it, but that's like...
No, I get that. I love Lewis, but I still would like to be the person who's doing the best, right? But at the same time, when I was still with Fight Stars, I had a call with Lewis, and I get a lot of messages how to get into the industry, but...
You're such a role model.
Of course.
Massive.
I mean,
listen to you. You know, I get a lot of messages these days. Charlie, how do you do it? How can I be like you? Show me the way within the industry. What a wanker.
But Lewis sent me a very lovely message about 1.5 years ago, and I had a phone call with him for about 1.5 hours. Tips and tricks on how to get into the industry. When the placement come up at Boxing Social, we were the first people to put his name forward. It was a very happy moment for him, although I've sent him to your call this week.
Well, it's a bit like Frank Smith. You know, I feel like I gave Frank Smith the opportunity. Don't get me wrong, he's worked hard. But now, all of a sudden, he doesn't even listen to me. So this will be like Lewis Hart. Give him 1 year, and he'll be mugging you off, and they'll be sending you to your call, and Hart will be over here. We just need a name for him. Because you're Parsons. Everyone knows you as Peter Parsons. But Lewis Hart, what is it, Harty? Not really. Do you know what I mean? We need to come up with Lou. No, don't really work, does it? Do you know what I mean?
In all seriousness, though, I know that you were very upset by my presence not being there. Eddie, we see you all the time thriving on fight weeks, but clearly just not yourself. It's nice to see you've got your mojo back. Now I am here with you. The top comment on one of the things I put out with, you can tell that Eddie's awfully distressed that Parsons isn't here with him.
Really, yeah,
the smile on your face today, I can just...
It just wasn't the same, that World Championship triple header, without you there. Really ruined fight week for me.
We're here. Regis Prograis, he makes his Matchroom debut. I said to him yesterday, when you sort of were involved in that Josh Taylor fight, you always wanted to work with these guys, but I suppose your crop at 140 wasn't what it could have been, and that really didn't have the pulling power. Now you are in a position where you sort of have everyone at 140. The big fights can be made with you. Really happy to have him and excited for this working relationship.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of fighters that we don't have at 140, but we have enough. We have enough liquidity to provide great fights to a lot of people in the division. Regis, for me, is the best fighter at 140. You know, I have to say that I was astonished by Teofimo Lopez's performance. Massive props to him, because, I mean, I thought he boxed really well. And I know Josh Taylor wasn't quite the Josh Taylor that he was when he boxed Regis Prograis, but it was a great performance. And now you have to say that Teofimo's right up there as arguably number one in the division. So I've liked Regis for a long time. I know that he wants to be in all the big fights. I know that he wants a lot of money, but I know that he's not going to price himself out, because I know he genuinely wants those big fights. And for us, you know, it's very important when there's a division that's going to be so lucrative, but there's going to be so much focus on that division because of the talent moving there. You really need to get a piece, you know, and that's something that at times we haven't been able to do, especially when Kell Brook lost to Errol Spence. We kind of lost all control of that welterweight division. But now with Regis and maybe other champions at 140 as well, we might be in a position to make unification fights or be a part of Regis against Tank, Regis against Devin, Regis against Ryan Garcia, because they're all the fights that he wants. And putting him in those fights that I think he can win. You know, not just, oh, we've found a champ that we can put in a big fight and get a payday. I think Regis can win those fights. So this is an interesting fight for him, because everyone's expecting it to be a homecoming and, you know, go out there and drill Zorilla. But he's a decent fighter, and I think there's quite a lot of pressure on him to perform, especially coming off the back of Teofimo. He wants to make a statement this Saturday.
Let's reflect on Teofimo Lopez's performance before we go into the Sonny Edwards fight week. Just before the fight, the odds were widening up even more so in Josh Taylor's favour. He come out fairly quick for the first 3 rounds, but then Teofimo, I mean, was just punch perfect. I mean, when you look at sort of his last couple of performances, the "do I still got it" quotes flying about, he definitely showed he did in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way as well that, you know, he always says after the fight and stuff that he said certain things to play with people's minds. And like after that fight where he says, "Do I still got it?" He says, "No, I was saying that because I wanted to get some attention." Like, and before this fight, he was saying, "I was saying some weird things to make you all think that I'd lost the plot." He's a strange one. Like, I don't think there's any, but he's also like, you can't. I mean, he also came out and said that he's two-weight undisputed champion. I mean, he wasn't even undisputed at 135. He only won 1 belt on Saturday. But he's got an argument to say he beat the best in the division. He definitely did at lightweight at the time. And, you know, there's an argument that Josh Taylor was number 1 in the division. You know, I think Regis beats Josh Taylor, but, you know, the fact is Josh won the fight against Regis. So Teofimo's got an argument that he's definitely beaten the number 1 in the division twice. So you can't knock him. But he also lost to George Kambosos and probably lost to Sandor Martin as well, you know, in a fight that could have gone either way. So weird. And but I think going into that fight, you know, I did say that there are a lot of unknowns on both. Like, Josh hadn't fought for well over a year. It's boring now, but he lost to Jack Cattrall. Most people believe that. It wasn't a great performance from him. And is he at the end of his career, or is it just that he can't make 140 anymore? He's definitely struggling at 140. He's still a great fighter, but it was a great performance from Teofimo. I thought it was great for boxing, see him win, because I think he's a character, personality, and I think he can be in some massive fights. And another one at 140, another reason why you take a piece of that 140 division and have a player in it, because now he's in. He's going to drive Top Rank mental. Wants 100 million, doesn't he, or something like that, to carry on in boxing? Yeah. So we'll see.
Sonny Edwards fight week, a world title triple header. Nina Hughes with a win. Sonny Edwards with a very convincing win. I suppose actually firstly on Sonny now, it's got to be unifications next. How likely is it? We know Bam was meant to be there and wasn't. And does this fight happen in the US? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, firstly, it has to be unifications, and it will be. or it'll be a world championship in another weight class. But I don't want to do that. I just want it to be unification. We are trying to close the deal with Jesse Rodriguez at the moment. That fight would take place around November time in America. If it's not him, we'll push for Martinez, we'll push for Delakian. But it has to be a unification for Sonny Edwards. I mean, I thought for 6 rounds he was absolute genius levels. When you talk to hardcore boxing fans or boxers, they just say it was just unbelievable to watch. The casuals will start to get a little bit bored after 7 or 8 rounds because they want to see someone, you know, step on their opponent, knock him out. But he's a genius. And he's going to raise his game in all those big fights. And I promise you he'll be in a massive fight next.
Do you believe Bam wants that fight then?
Definitely. Listen, all the fighters want the fights. Julio Cesar Martinez wants that fight. But there's a difference between wanting the fight and asking for an amount of money that you know is just not possible. Right? So every fighter, every team should try and maximise the purse for their fighter. But at the end of the day, there is a limit to the money available in that fight. Sonny's done. Sonny's signed his contract for Bam, for Julio Cesar Martinez, for Delakian. So I don't even have to tell him or talk to him about his purse. I just say to him, Sonny, good news, done deal, mate. November to whatever, Vegas, whatever. And he's in. So I just have to box off the other side. And I really hope I can do that this week.
Ellie Scotney, world champion.
Fantastic performance. I mean, you know, Ellie's been, although she's only had 6 fights or 7 now, she's been around a while, really. And she's always been an unbelievable talent. She's done things, I say the hard way, but she's been through the levels. Some people get world championship shots when they didn't really deserve it. She got one when she absolutely deserved it, and she was absolutely ready. Took a little bit longer than expected, but a great performance, a really good fight, to be honest with you, with Shanika Johnson. Both girls very high level. Ellie boxed well, and now, you know, she's changed her life really in that night, become world champion, and now got opportunities to unify, which I will look to do straight away with her. I think she's good enough to fight the other champions. And again, like with every weight class, we want to see an undisputed champion.
Let's move on to the heavyweights. Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte. How close are we to getting this over the line? Have there been some, not stumbling blocks, but maybe not as straightforward over the last couple of days?
I mean, we've made an offer to Dillian. I don't think he's definitely not accepting that offer. He doesn't have to. He's always going to want more money than I think is the right number for that fight, because that's just what a fighter does. We are talking to 2 other fighters about fighting on August 12th. There is a chance it might not be Dillian Whyte, but we have to make a move this week, really, or beginning of next week. It's 8 weeks this Saturday. And obviously that's ongoing conversations with the Deontay Wilder fight, because a lot of it stems, you know, once the Wilder fight's locked in, it makes the opponent on August 12th less of a factor. Do you know what I mean? Like right now, we want to fight Dillian Whyte. That's 100% the fight that AJ wants. But if we lock in Deontay Wilder, maybe we fight someone else from the top 15 that we can make a deal done like that. It's not so much AJ wanting to be in a massive fight in August if he's got Wilder signed. It's him wanting to fight, improve, learn under Derek James, get back in the ring again. So if it can't be Dillian, it'll be someone else. But it's still the plan to box August 12th.
Any clues on the other 2 names?
I'm not telling you, because then it becomes a fuckery.
Tyson Fury wants to fight Francis Ngannou on the same night as fighting John Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you can never advise Tyson. I mean, it's not my job to advise him anyway, but he's just becoming a little bit of a PR disaster. I don't think he really cares. But if you read the comments under these kind of posts, you can see people have had enough. You know, I'm not even sure people are that interested in Tyson Fury against Ngannou. I think people want to just see Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk or Tyson Fury against AJ, and that's it. So everybody else has got their other fights planned, but he, at the moment, but then didn't he come and say he's got a big fight to announce soon?
Since then, he come out and then spoke about the John Jones and Ngannou.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like, if you give too much energy about what he's doing and saying, you'll just lose focus elsewhere. So you just have to work on what you can control and work on the things that are important to you. Everything else is just noise.
Any more on the whole Joshua Fury front for Wembley?
No more conversation. I mean, we're still August 12th and Deontay Wilder.
Just quickly on August 12th, I know the O2 is booked. If it is Dillian Whyte, do you look at doing it in the stadium?
Yeah, the football fixtures are just out, so we are talking to stadiums as well. But if it's Dillian, still could be O2, but if it's not Dillian, then it will definitely be the O2.
John Fury has made some comments. He's trying to turn the Fury... Usyk's trying to turn the public against Tyson Fury, which they've done a good job of because the public's daft anyway. Look at what wonders he's done for this country, and look at how quickly they turn and support a total foreigner. He's also demanded an apology from Usyk, or Usyk will never get to fight Tyson if he doesn't apologise.
Just another element of a PR disaster, really. But again, John's going to say what John wants to say. And you can't tell John what to say either. So...
what do you make of that quote, though?
I mean, look, you have to understand that being in the limelight, the public are going to go like this, right? One week they love you, next week they hate you. And that just comes with the territory. Like, you look at Anthony Joshua, how anybody can criticise him for what he's done, for fights that he jumped in. I mean, who was it the other day? Chris Eubank Sr. He was on Talksport saying, Eddie, the promoter, the reason he lost to Andy Ruiz is because Eddie Hearn threw him in too early in his 14th fight for a world title. I mean, firstly, it was his 16th fight for a world title. Secondly, after that, he beat Brazil, Molina, Klitschko, Takam, Parker and Povetkin before he boxed Andy Ruiz. So what you're saying, after winning all those fights, he's not ready for Andy Ruiz. Like, people just want to really make their own mind up and decisions. So I think what Tyson Fury has done with his career is unbelievable. I think what he's done for British boxing is great. But you can't just accept it all to be roses every single day. And if you're going to come out, if you're going to do it your way, if you're going to negotiate your way, if you're going to talk like you talk, you're going to get stick. But you can't just say, well, I'm not fine. I need an apology. It doesn't and call the public daft, because that ain't going to go down well either, But unfortunately, as I've learned over the years, you're just not going to be liked every single day. Some days you're going to be slagged off. Like, other days people are going to make shit up about you. The next day, people are going to think you're great again. And then you think, here we go. And then the next day, everyone hates you again. It's just life. And that just comes with territory. Same for you, Parsons, on a much smaller level.
Certainly. You mentioned Chris Eubank Sr. I suppose we'll pick up on those comments. I mentioned it to Frank yesterday. I always try to not discuss it too much because it's family and it's close to home. But he said that he doesn't think he should be doing interviews. I mean, his mental state's been questioned a lot over the last 12 months.
I cannot believe the outlets are having him in and having, it's just wrong. And seeing, I didn't like the Jim White bit where he said, so your son's a charlatan. Your son is a charlatan. He's your, it's just you can't, that was talk about families here and I don't know, I didn't like the whole, look, but I've known him since I was 10 or 11 or 12, do you know what I mean? So seeing him now is uncomfortable for me, and to see him talk about Junior like that, I don't think that should be broadcast, in all honesty.
How do you think it will affect Junior?
It was never nice. I mean, his dad is talking down about him. He's talking about his career. I don't. Listen, as someone who has a very close relationship with their father, I mean, that would kill me if my dad was on Talksport talking like that. So I found it very uncomfortable.
Just quickly moving back, on the heavyweights, we mentioned Deontay Wilder and Saudi Arabia. Where are we at with that? Is there any chance that, I know you said you really want to make a move this week for August 12th. Does that mean that we're getting very close to having Saudi Arabia done? Yeah, that
needs to be done. We want to do the two at the same time because, again, if we can't make the Saudi Arabia fight, we'd like to look at the Tyson Fury fight in September. Genuinely. So we're on path to make the Deontay Wilder fight, but sooner or later, we've we've got a lot of time for a December fight, but we want to do the two in tandem. So that's the plan. Frank had a conversation with them last night. It's all moving in the right direction, and we'll see.
Frank mentioned to me that Deontay Wilder could be fighting Andy Ruiz in any sort of fight in between. What do you make of that?
I don't think he will. I think if the money's locked in for him to fight Joshua in December, I don't see that fight happening.
There was a lot of back and forth last week between yourself and Frank Warren. It hadn't been between the two of you for a long time, so I'm sure boxing fans were happy to see that again. George Warren has come out, and we spoke a lot when I come down to HQ about you just don't have the energy. It's business now. Sort of a Hara Davies, you're happy to work with him. You don't care about what's happened. Business comes first. George Warren reiterated the same things when asked about that sort of stuff. He said, I don't care about having a good relationship or a bad relationship with anybody. I just want to do what's best for business. Is this the sort of new mentality that needs to be had?
It's very difficult. I mean, like, the old school mentality, like when I don't mind saying it, when I bumped into O'Hara, I had a conversation with my old man about it. He said, I saw that interview with O'Hara. And he really didn't like what O'Hara had said over the last few years, because he felt like we helped him, we'd done a good job for him. And I said to him, look, yeah, it was great. I said, we'll probably end up working with him. And he's like, yeah, right. I'm like, no, seriously, like, I think he's a good fighter. He's in a position maybe to fight for the world title. And he couldn't get his head around how, after everything that had happened, how can you work with this guy? And the answer is because I have no emotion towards O'Hara. I don't like, and when emotion comes in, and you see that in Frank's interviews, right? I've seen it for years and years. So when George says, we've always wanted to work with people, they haven't really. They never wanted to work with us. And we didn't really want to work with them either, in all honesty. I've never spoke to Frank Warren in my life, once on the phone for 2 minutes. That's it. But now, it takes for someone to come in and sit down and go, oh, let's start a conversation. So all of a sudden, I've known Francis for a while. We've been out, we've had a beer. That's the start of it. And then George comes in, and next thing we're having a meeting, and then we're having another meeting, and we're talking a couple of times on the phone. It just becomes natural, And I've never once thought to myself, oh, I quite like George. And he probably doesn't really like me. You have to understand that our families have grown up like this. Yeah. So when I grew up, my dad and Frank Warren were arguing all the time. And I saw that as a kid. I was 10, 11, 12 when my dad and Frank Warren were rivals. So I'm not going to like Frank Warren, am I? Because that's the word in the house is you see that drama. And the same for George. George ain't going to like my dad or even me. And I don't hold anything personally to George for the rivalry over the years. I really don't care. I want to make the best fights. I want to provide the zone with the best schedule. I want to make the most money for the business. So if we can do all that by doing business, I really don't have a problem. And he's doing a good job, or he's done a good job, to come in and almost say, let's be sensible here. And he's not, I don't know him well enough, but the impression that I get, he's not really bothered. He doesn't really want to do interviews. He doesn't really want to do all that kind of stuff. And if he's genuine about wanting to do business, and then there's lots of business to be done. But we were never going to do business with Frank Warren because he's just not, he's too old school. And I think that if it was vice versa, I think my dad wouldn't do business with it. You know what I mean? If I was on the other side, I think my dad couldn't stand me, and he'd get all agitated as well, and he wouldn't want to do business with me either. But it's different, right? And what's quite similar is really not in a business sense, but probably in a social sense. Probably Frank and my old man are probably quite similar. And my dad's always said to me, he's good company, Frank, like get out a bit of, but just in a business sense, they operate differently. They've got different ideas. But they're also both bonkers, right? And they're both old school. So I think George will see the similarities that we have in that respect of if to say, Dad, please, Frank probably does George's name. My old man does my name. Frank will do an interview and George will go, oh my God. My dad will do an interview and I will go, oh my God. So, in that respect, we're kind of managing, whilst we also understand we wouldn't be here without them. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I think there's a lot of similarities in that respect, but the key is doing good business.
Just rattle through some more quickly. David Adeleye, what did you make of his performance? And it looks like he will now be mandated for the British title.
Honestly, not just saying it, I didn't see it. I saw a couple of... I didn't hear raving reviews. But it's a good fight, Adeleye against Wardley. It's another fight I've spoke to George Warren about. I think the board should make him mandatory, and I look forward to making that fight.
Purse bids?
Probably. I mean, I said to George, look, we'll make you an offer to do it on DAZN. He said, I want to do the fight on BT. I said, I want to do the fight on DAZN. But he said, if it's a great offer, we'll look at it. And if it's a great offer for Fabio, we'll look at it. So if not, we go to purse bids.
Edward, there was a lot of talk about Fraser Clarke's fight tomorrow being an 8-rounder. It's not. It is a 10-rounder against Marius Wack, headlining on Sky Sports. What do you think?
Well, it was an 8-rounder, but now it's changed. Yeah, I think it's all right. I mean, look, it's in York Hall. I mean, I love York Hall as a venue, but you know, it's 1,200 people, and I think it's Marius Wack. I like Marius Wack. I think he's a lovely gentleman. He's shot to pieces, but it's still a step up to who he's going to fight. As I understand it, they have made Dave Allen an offer to fight him next, Fraser Clarke. So we'll see. We are also looking at that potentially for Fabio Wardley. We'll see.
Canelo versus Badou Jack. I believe you're not involved with these talks.
I'm involved with those talks. I spoke to Prince Khalid about it yesterday. When I met with Prince Khalid through the Joshua thing, we'd already discussed that fight. There are talks going on with Eddie Reynoso and Amit as well. We'll see. It's not a fight for September, but it could be a fight for January, February of next year. So we're just focusing on a potential of a Bivol fight. And look, for us, if we don't deliver the Bivol fight or another fight that they like, they might take Charlo or Benavidez. So it's on us to do that. But the Bivol fight, I'm not sure that fight's going to get made.
So Bivol done some interviews last week and said that Canelo's making no effort for the rematch. On your side of things, speaking to Canelo team, do they want that fight?
They do want it. They've asked me to make that fight. They definitely want it. But when Bivol says they're not making an effort, we've made Bivol an offer which he didn't accept. And obviously at the same time, Canelo is going to want the right money for that fight. So we're trying to get an offer together for both guys that will be acceptable. But at the moment, it's not there.
Was the offer for 175 or 168?
175.
What was Bivol's reasoning for not taking it? Financial or 168?
Financial. And listen, he would rather the fight at 168. But we can't have the undisputed fight because WBC won't sanction it.
Mauricio Suleiman. Okay, really quickly. Our position is not personal, and we're very sorry if it hurts anyone. We're a sanctioning body that fights for peace against abuse of power. It's very unfortunate that he is a victim in this situation. That's about Beterbiev Bivol not being able to.
I understand, and organisations have to make their own decisions. When I know someone like Dimitri Bivol, who is a man of integrity, who is a man of peace, I find it very difficult that he should be punished for the actions of another man or a regime. So, but I get it at the same time. Like, organisations want to punish the country for their actions, and sometimes that filters down to an innocent athlete that would rather the country wasn't in that situation.
Billy Joe Saunders, Berlanga, back and forth, realistic?
Yeah, good fight. I mean, look, I really hope Billy can get back in shape and back in the ring. I think it'd be a great addition to the stable for British boxing, and that's a big fight with Berlanga. But first of all, he has Jason Quigley next week, and it's going to be wild.
Two more quick ones. Misfits have announced a fatal four-way.
I love it. But I love the way the Misfits are just going circus, because we can establish it's not boxing, so we can stop that argument. It's just not boxing. So, yeah, wilder the better.
Finally, we have launched Boxing Social TV. This is groundbreaking, Edward. I bet you're really excited to be loading that up after this interview and be watching. Little word.
Yeah, I'm straight on it, literally. Congratulations to Boxing Social for launching Boxing Social TV. So.
Edward, thank you very much for your time.
There's another out there. He goes, can you do the start, please? They make me do the start of the...
Oh, we are weighing in.
Yeah, we are weighing in. And he goes, but the other day he goes, can you do the start before we start? And I was like, what are you talking about? the start. I was like, what? We are weighing in. What do you want me to say? Say, I'm Eddie Hearn, we are weighing in. I was like, I'm Eddie Hearn, we are weighing in. Yeah, good, Eddie. I was like, I'm like fucking performing seal.
I don't get you to do the accents. I'll leave that to come. Eduardo, thank you very much for your time, mate.